Hello, I'm Elijah Rose, the soldier turned historian. The topic of this video is the legendary origins of the Arabic people, with this first part being a review of the available written sources. Now, when I say legendary, I mean that in the literal sense of the word, because the sources range from controversial to unreliable, and many of them contradict each other. For starters, there is the Quran and the Tawrat. Tawrat is Arabic for Torah, and they show signs of a distorted history, distorted by repeat retellings, where people tell the story they heard decades ago and they tell it the best they can, but they get things mixed up. That's just human error. But we can tell this happened because they contradict each other on many details. It is even theorized that at least many of these Arab legends originate from Hebrew sources during a time of Hebrew migration into that desert. Part of the reason for this is a major point of contradiction in the Arabic legends is whether or not Isaac or Ishmael was the legitimate heir of Abraham, which is obviously a matter of nationalist pride among many Arabs, and it may have been deliberately changed at some point. The other reason is later oral retellings among the Arabs appear to have rediscovered details that are in the Hebrew version of events but were lost in early Arab versions, and many of these details are not points of nationalist pride. The Hebrew Torah written by Moses is the most widely known version of events by far, but does not go into any real details, only covering the Arabs as far as it concerns the origins of the Jews. The next source is the Book of Jasher, which could be more appropriately called Ancient Hebrew Legends. At some point, there were dozens, if not hundreds, of these books, all in Jerusalem, covering the entire history of the Jews in the surrounding areas. Most, if not all of these, are lost to time. These books are referenced as a source by Josephus and is referenced multiple times as existing in Hebrew and Christian scriptures, although doubts exist whether or not any copy of any of these books still exist, because there was at least one fake version produced that was spotted immediately, because the author of this alleged history identifies himself as Jasher. But in Hebrew, Jasher is not a name. It literally means correct records, and the whole book of Jasher could be loosely translated as the histories. The only copy that may be real, or at least of immense antiquity, comes from a Jew who fled Spain in the 16th century and went to Italy, and he told a printer that it was a copy of a book that survived the burning of Jerusalem in the Bar Kokhba revolt. Now, this Christian publisher was very suspicious of this book when he got it, but he read it and realized it didn't conflict with any scriptures that he was aware of, so he simply published it with a preface saying that its authenticity is unknown, and there the matter has rested. We still do not know for sure whether or not this is a genuine copy of a genuine legend. The surviving book of Jasher is an extended version of the book of Genesis written by Moses, but it's loaded with poetic exaggerations, composite characters, and not even biblical scholars themselves are sure of how much of it is to believe. The least controversial source is Josephus, who was a Roman-era Jewish historian who wrote detailed accounts of Judea's civil wars against the Romans and Jewish history up until that time. It should be noted that he often cites Moses and Jasher across the relevant period, but he also appears to have other sources, not all of which are named, and most of them we just simply do not know who they are. Also, there's an offhanded reference to this matter in the Midrash, one of the writings that are part of the Talmud, part of Orthodox Jewish teachings. These statements appear to be referring to something that was widely known in Roman Judea at the time, but are simply lost to time, and we have no idea what their sources are or why they believed that. But the bottom line is, if these sources were any good, no one would need me to sort this out for everybody.